So in picking your topic, it helps to think about 6 things: lived experience, geographic and socio-demographic setting, passion and motivation, access to resources, strengths and weaknesses, and what are the needs. So let's talk about all 6. The first one is lived experience. What have you experienced in your life? It could be a social or environmental challenge that has affected you personally or affected people you love or neighbors. It could be something that you've worked on professionally or as a volunteer, but try to ask yourself, what do I have firsthand experience with? Now, you might really care about a topic that you don't have firsthand experience with, and that's okay. It's not that you can't work on that topic. It helps to find those who do have firsthand experience and work with them. So the first thing to think about is lived experience. The second thing is socio-demographic and geographic setting. So basically that means start local. Think about, again, what do you know? Where do you live? What challenges affect your community? And of course, most social and environmental challenges are faced by communities worldwide, and it's okay to think global and act global. It's just that when trying to pick your topic, it helps to go through these screening questions and start local. Start with what do you know? So your lived experience, your geographic and socio-demographic setting, and then of course, third, your passion and motivation. What do you wake up thinking about each morning? What do you go to bed worrying about each night? What do you spend your time reading about or watching videos about or talking to people about? What really drives you in life? So there are things that you need to ask yourself on a rational level to screen through questions and pick a topic, but also look inside, like what do you really want to work on? And that's really important. The fourth thing is access to resources. What might you be well positioned to work on? If you work in a school system or volunteer in a school system, for example, then you might be able to mobilize resources for that school system. If you work in a bank, you might be able to mobilize the resources of that bank to tackle a social challenge of your choice. Or if you work in a higher education institution like I do, you might be able to help mobilize knowledge and increase access, which is what we're trying to do through this course. So ask yourself, what resources do I have access to, and where am I really positioned to make a difference? Okay, so we've talked about lived experience, geographic and socio-demographic setting, passion and motivation, and access to resources. Next, ask yourself, what are my strengths and weaknesses? So it's not just what you care about, but also what are you good at? Some people like being behind the scenes, keeping their head down, doing desk work, doing data analysis or research or lab work. Others like going out there and talking to people or venturing into dangerous places. So think about what context you're well suited to work in. And again, it's not to stop you from working on something that might need a different skill set. It's just to think about who you might look for and who you might need to partner with as you venture out into your idea. So thinking about your own strengths and weaknesses is another way to help narrow in on your topic. And lastly, it's not just about you, it's about others. What do others need? What do you think are important challenges that are pressing, and what have people asked for and voiced concern about? So also use a needs-based approach. Of course, you ask yourself questions about yourself, but then you ask yourself questions about the needs. And so by using these 6 checklist questions, this will help you narrow down to a topic that you can use to focus on to practice in this course. Your lived experience, geographic and socio-demographic setting, passion and motivation, access to resources, strengths and weaknesses, and needs-based approach. Now, this isn't a checklist in the sense that you have to fulfill every single one of these requirements. They're not requirements. They're just questions to ask yourself to help pick your topic. And it might be just one of them that really resonates with you and helps you find what topic is the best match for you. And remember, it might not end up being the thing that you work on for the rest of your life. It might just be something you use to practice the mindset and skill set of social entrepreneurship in this course.